Good morning, Scotland. Good morning, social media land. I hope you are well. It is Tuesday, the 25th of February, 2025. Internal blame is rotting the Scottish independence movement from the inside. The movement that once stood united in defiance of Westminster's rule is now splintered into factions, each one convinced that the other are responsible for the failure. Instead of focusing on the real barrier to independence, too many so-called activists waste their energy on tearing down their own side. This is not just a frustrating distraction, it's a direct gift to those who want to keep Scotland in the Union. Every bitter argument, every petty grudge, every effort spent attacking another pro-independence group is another step backwards. While some may believe that they're holding the others accountable, the truth is that they are sabotaging the cause. Westminster does not need to lift a finger when those who claim to support independence are doing the job of division for them. Infighting is also a psychological trap. It provides a false sense of control. When progress seems slow or impossible, people seek someone to blame. They look inwards rather than outwards, convincing themselves that if only their faction were in charge, things would be different. This illusion of control does nothing but fracture the movement further. Every hour spent attacking another independent supporter is an hour not spent persuading the undecided voters. This is what divides us. Differences in political strategy, values and priorities are inevitable in any movement, but when they become all-consuming, they weaken the entire cause. Instead of constructive debate, there is hostility. Instead of collaboration, there is distrust. And instead of progress, there is stagnation. Scapegoating is another disease that infects the movement. Some activists turn on their own, demonising individuals or groups as the reason for the movement's struggles. It is easier to attack another independent supporter than to face the hard truth that independence requires sustained, disciplined effort. There is no shortcut, no individual or party that can single-handedly deliver independence, nor can one faction be blamed for its delay. The movement has allowed ideological purity tests to take precedence over pragmatism. Different visions of Scotland's future are inevitable, but they are worthless if Scotland never gets the chance to make those decisions for herself. Yet activists continue to act as if their vision for independence is the only valid one. The cost of this arrogance is failure. Instead of working together towards the common goal of securing Scotland's right to self-determination, they attack one another as if independence itself is a secondary concern. This psychological toll of this endless cycle of infighting is immense. Activists burn out, exhausted by the constant battles within their own ranks. Instead of feeling empowered, they feel drained. The movement that should be giving them purpose instead becomes a source of frustration and disillusionment. Some walk away entirely, disheartened by the toxicity that has seeped into every corner of the campaign that they believe in. Others stay, but their efforts become increasingly bitter and ineffective. Trust is eroded every time an activist turns on their own side. It reinforces the idea that the independence movement is chaotic and unreliable. The wider public sees this dysfunction and disengages. Why should they believe that Scotland is ready for independence if those fighting for it cannot even work together? Instead of inspiring confidence, the movement projects division. Blaming others is often used to create the illusion of unity. A faction within the movement will decide that one group or individual is the problem, rally against them. They will claim that if this group is defeated, removed or exposed as being corrupt, independence will be back on track. This is a fantasy. Removing one target of blame will not erase division. It will simply lead to a new target. The cycle repeats itself endlessly, and all the while, Westminster remains in control. By the time people realise that scapegoating has done nothing to further the cause, they will have wasted years alienating potential allies and made independence seem even further away. Undecided Scots look at this mess and see a movement more interested in fighting amongst itself than fighting for Scotland's future. Every public spat, every venomous social media post, every attack on a fellow independent supporter confirms their worst fears, that independence is a fantasy because those demanding it are incapable of unity. The movement should be persuading people to take the next step towards self-determination instead of driving them away. The younger generation, those who should be the backbone of the future campaign, see nothing worth joining. They believe in independence, but why would they involve themselves in a movement that is more about petty grievances than national liberation? They see supposed leaders bickering over party politics instead of working to achieve the one thing that actually matters: independence. This movement is not a personal project for revenge. It is not about scoring points on social media. It is not a battleground for those who think their ideological purity is more important than winning independence. It's about one thing: securing the right for Scotland to govern itself. Everything else is secondary. Internal division is not a strategy. It is self-harm. It is handing victory to Westminster without them even needing to lift a finger. If there are disagreements on policy, they can wait. If there are personal grudges, they must be set aside. If there is anger at past failures, channel it into something more productive. If we, as activists, refuse to prioritise independence over our personal frustrations, then we're not truly fighting for Scotland. We're fighting for ourselves and our egos and our personal grudges. And that really is not a cause worth rallying behind. There is no room for division. There is no time for internal battles. The only fight that matters is the one against Westminster's rule. Either activists rise to that challenge or they step aside and let those with real purpose take the lead. The next generation will not inherit a movement riddled with infighting. They will inherit a nation ready to govern itself. If we do not change, we will lose. If we do not set aside factionalism, we will lose. If we do not recognise that independence is bigger than our personal grievances, we will lose. And if that happens, do not pretend you were not warned. Do not pretend that you were not told that this was the outcome of your selfish, short-sighted behaviour. Do not pretend that you did not choose to put your pride over your country. Because history is watching. The next generation is watching. Scotland is watching. And what will they see? A movement that was too blinded by its own ego to win, or a movement that rose above its differences and delivered independence? You still have a choice, but the time to make it is definitely running out.
They're tearing down the walls we built, brick by brick they fall. Your words become the chains that bind, dividing us all. Can't you see your actions serve the very ones we fight? By fueling fires of discord, you extinguish our light. I refuse to let my children bear a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for right. Our unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. Your venom poisons progress, turns our lives into foes. Each insult digs a deeper trench where understanding goes. You're dancing to their melody, a puppet on their strings, while they erode our culture and steal our precious things. I refuse to let my children better a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for rights, or unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. Look beyond your grievances, see the larger scope. Our strength lies in our numbers, in solidarity and hope. Set aside your differences, let go of selfish pride. Together we'll achieve the dream for which our martyrs died. I refuse to let my children better a fractured, broken dream, while the British state deceives us, pulling apart our seam. I won't engage in petty spats that mock our quest for rights, or unity's the weapon that will lead us to the fight. No more will we be pawns in their manipulative game. We'll stand as one, undivided in purpose and in name. The future of our nation rests upon our unified stand. Together we'll reclaim our rights, together we'll demand. I refuse to let my children better a fractured, broken dream, while the